please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Julie.
Mayor Mahler, Councillor Gerson,
Present.
Councillor Trask,
Present.
Gorley, Councillor Coleman,
Present.
Councillor Sanchez,
Here.
Councillor Richards.
Present.
Let the record show that we have 5 present and 2 absent. I need a motion to excuse Mayor Mahler and Councillor Gorley, please.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please, Julie, for a vote.
President Pro Tem Gerson,
Yes.
Councillor Trask,
Yes.
Councillor Coleman,
Yes.
Councillor Sanchez.
Yep.
Councillor Richards.
Yes.
Let the record show we have 5 ayes and no nays and 2 absent. I think, Brandon, you were going to do the video stream, please.
Thank you to everyone who is joining us. For members of the public who would like to participate in this meeting, we have some instructions to help if you are new to using Microsoft Teams. Notice the icons in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. The second one from the left is a chat bubble icon, indicated with the yellow arrow. If you wish to be recognized by the mayor to speak, please choose the bubble icon to enter the meeting chat. It will appear on the right-hand side of your screen. First, enter your name, address, and phone number in the chat, followed by the topic you wish to discuss. If you wish to speak at any point during the meeting, you can choose the hand icon, also located in the upper right-hand corner indicated with the green arrow. It's the equivalent of raising your hand. Then, the mayor, acting chairperson, or moderator will ask you to speak at the appropriate time. We'll give everyone a few moments now to enter their name, address, phone number, and topic they'd like to address with the council in the meeting chat. We will ask in the interest of time that people not repeat a previous speaker, instead state you agree with their point or disagree with their point. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. Any extension of that time is at the sole discretion of the mayor or meeting chairperson for the council rules. The moderator will note those joining by phone for the mayor/chairperson. The fact that the meeting is online does not excuse poor behavior. The mayor retains the right to have people removed from the meeting as stated in the council rules.
Thank you. Consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please, Julie.
Councillor Trask.
Here.
Councillor Coleman,
Yes.
Councillor Sanchez,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
and President Pro Tem Gerson.
Yes. Okay, 5 ayes and no nays and 2 absent. Recognition of visitors. Do we have people who wish to speak to us right now? Okay. All business. Information only, the Pacific Power Resiliency Grant. Christy?
This evening we have our Engineering Tech 2, Trish Rice, present, and she's going to give the staff report this evening.
Good evening. This is information only. We're not requesting any action tonight. We're here to give you a status update on the Pacific Power application for the generator at the water treatment plant. At our last presentation on January 25th, we presented that Pacific Power had a resiliency grant. Our understanding is they have a $1.6 million funding bucket that they're interested in helping communities become more resilient with backup power. So since our last presentation, we have applied for that grant, and we are in dialogue with Pacific Power right now because typically their process is assisting projects that are shovel ready. So they've already been fully designed and all they need is the funding. We're not at that level because we're still sorting out the full scope of the project if we want to just do the generator or if we want to do the full resiliency package with battery and solar to make 2 weeks. And so they understand that, and they understand we have a public budgeting process. As part of that, we've had discussion with Pacific Power about our application and how much we're actually asking them to donate for our project. Right now, because we don't have firm detailed project costs, our estimate is still very high level. We had numbers kicked around in a discussion on a phone call with them. Anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million would be our ask. They are discussing internally, since they understand the city's needs to finish this design and have direction, that somebody has to go first and make a commitment. So they are meeting in-house to see what they would be willing to offer the city. Then we will take that information and bring it back to you and see whether we want to proceed with pursuing a FEMA grant for the additional funds, or if we want to scale down the project, or what you would like to do. So there will be more information coming in the future. Are there any questions about our update right now?
Council, any questions? Yes.
Do we have any idea of wild number for what this is going to cost?
If we only do the generator, probably about $1 million. If we do the full package with the generator, battery backup, and solar, probably about $4 million.
How much?
$4 million. Which most of that funding, if we did pursue that size of the project, we would be asking for from the FEMA resiliency grants.
Well, I know where there are some batteries out in the backyard. It's a black vehicle. So we could get somebody to work on that. We'd save some money. That's a lot of money. But I will tell you, from my experience being employed, if that thing goes down, you're done. Because we at the phone company, they had backup batteries that lasted for like 3 days. And so for me, I don't think we should give up on that backup. Because if the thing blows up or something, that's just me. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
do you have a estimated time when they're going to be responsive to you on what they're capable of helping us with?
We expect further communication in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if that will be when they give us a commitment letter, but we'll know more information in a couple weeks.
And then we have to spend the ARPA funds within a certain timeline. Do you know how long the project would take to plan and then turn around and use those funds on top of what the grant covers as well?
Yes. I want to tackle the project timeline first. Okay. So we anticipate the project design completed in about a year, spring of 23. That includes time for the FEMA application. And then construction would be throughout most of 2024.
As far as the ARPA funds are concerned, the Government Finance Officers Conference that I went to at the beginning of March, we had a presentation on ARPA stuff, and the premise is we have to have the ARPA funds encumbered by December 31 of 2024 and full complete spending by the end of 2026. So it does give us a little bit of flexibility. I would prefer not to spend 2 years after the encumbrance timeframe, because that crosses fiscal years and just gets messy. But we have some buffer if something went sideways.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Trish. Request for council action, downtown streetscape and parking plan.
Okay.
We're on page 74.
74.
Sorry.
So this is the final time this is going to come before you in plan form. As you know, the city in 2020 set a goal to do create a downtown streetscape plan, including looking at the parking. We had a number of public meetings year to go over ideas, gather feedback. And last December, consultants did their final presentation for you. And then this document in your packet is the final report. So at this time, having already received all the feedback that we could all year, it is now time to adopt this final. That will allow staff to move forward with phasing and identifying potential funding sources for the project. It's a very large project. It would have to be split up into manageable. And funding is very uncertain at this time as to where we would gain funding, but I'm optimistic that with a lot of the infrastructure act, the federal act that was passed last fall, that there might be some opportunity, as well as other programs at the state level. And so the key to those programs and those grants is showing that you have a project that has been fully vetted by the public. That makes your project much more competitive because funders don't like seeing a project get funded and then have the public, demand changes or worse, some sort of rework to change things midstream or even after it's done. So having that officially adopted document is really an important step for opening ourselves up to those opportunities. So in your packet is the full document. There's a lot to it, and you've seen much of this before, but I'm available to take any questions you have. I recommend that you ultimately officially adopt it. But understand it's a large document, so whatever you need, we're here to support.
So council, you need a motion first, and then we'll have discussion.
Madam, I make a motion to formally adopt the Sweet Home Downtown Streetscape and Parking Plan as presented.
I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded. Now open for discussion.
Madam Mayor, so I'm going to assume, which I hate to do, that when we do this, it's not going to be a step-by-step thing. It's going to be a full-blown, we're going to get it all done. And is that what I'm reading, or
I actually think that you would want to split it into phases.
Okay.
Because essentially the full build out is estimated to be, I think it says 12 million in the estimates in there.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's feasible. Certainly, even if we did find some funding organization that wanted to give us that level of money, having the staff capacity to be able to handle a grant at that level, that's a bit beyond our capabilities, I think. So you definitely would want to split it into chunks.
Okay.
To make it more manageable.
So I have a question. So if we did split it into chunks, how would we decide where we start?
That's a good question. We can certainly provide plenty of recommendations based on the feedback that we had last year from all the conversations. The Festival Street was a very popular idea of turning 13th Avenue, that block, into a festival street. And so I would recommend starting there because it gives you a very high profile, very visible sign of what's to come. And then you can branch out from there to either side, both to the east and the west, and then along on both Long Street and Main Street. That's my recommendation, but there certainly are options there.
Other questions? Okay, we have a motion on the table. Julie, roll call, please.
Counselor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Gerson,
Yes.
Counselor Trask.
Yes.
Let the record show we have 5 ayes and 2 absents. Okay. Request for council action, the radiator supply request. Will Garrett's here to talk to us. Oh, I think it was on. There you go.
Button there. I don't know where to start. One thing I think I would like to start with is clearing up a few things that maybe we did a poor job communicating the first time that we came in here. And this is maybe a little technical. First thing I want to make sure that's clear, this is not a request from Radiator Supply House. It's the Sweet Home Icebox Cook-Off is what it is. So it's not a business that's requesting the money. I know that a transaction of funds being transferred to a business may not look so well. And so I feel like that being cleared up. There were some things, and I'm sorry we were not able to be present 2 weeks ago. Most of us that are teaming with making this happen were out of state. But there were some things mentioned, and we just want to make sure it's clear. We are looking for a partner. It was mentioned that it was a donation. It was mentioned that it was a handout, and that is not what we're asking for. We want a partner in this. We want to partner with Sweet Home. We think it's good for Sweet Home. It will bring traffic. And I'll be the first to say I'm humbled with the outside businesses that are already seeing value in this. And I named some last time I was here. There's more on the table from outside of Sweet Home that see value. We've asked Mike White with Best Damn Barbecue Sauce to please let all his contestants that are coming in know, please book their hotels now, because we're hearing of sponsors that are coming in from out of state already booking hotels and campsites because they want to be a part of this. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we want a partner. We really don't want, in a sense, a donation or something that's a handout. We look at this as a long-term investment that can help Sweet Home, bring business here, and bring people to Sweet Home that are outside of the area. Our market we're looking at right now is trying to bring from Roseburg to Portland. But again, we're already seeing people from out of state talking and making their plans for spending 4th of July here. The other thing we have recently added to this is it seems, and I'm not from Sweet Home, but listening to quite a few that are from town, they leave 4th of July weekend, they leave Sweet Home and they go to Harrisburg and they go to Vancouver and they go to the coast for a fireworks display because we don't have one here. And I understand we have it the next weekend, and that's great. But it's been brought to the table by one sponsor said, we would love to see a fireworks display 4th of July weekend in Sweet Home. So the permit is in now to also have a full firework display Saturday night. It won't be the 4th, it would be the 2nd. So maybe we're still skirting around the 4th itself on that, but it would be in Sweet Home that weekend. There would also be a fireworks display over the pond at the Radiator Supply House facility. So we're just trying to add as much value as we can to bring as many people from out of town. All the people from inside Sweet Home is great, and if we can get them there, that's awesome. And there may have been a misunderstanding with that one, some things we heard from last week, but we understand people from Sweet Home already spend their money here. We're looking to bring people from outside of Sweet Home and have them fill their tanks up with gas here and go to the grocery stores and use the hotels and support Sweet Home. So I guess with that being said, I want to make sure that this is a partnership rather than just a handout, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Any counselors have questions?
Madam, I have a couple of comments, but I wanted to say thank you to Will and his team for calling it the Sweet Home Barbecue.
Sweet Home Icebox Cook-Off
Icebox.
is what they've.
Our name is in it, so thank you.
Yes.
That's going around the nation. Also, just so you know, we have given money to private entities before through our SEEP grant. So private companies have received money from the Economic Development Fund. So that's not unheard of.
Madam Mayor, I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Yeah, madam, I think this is a good thing. Okay. I think that would be good for our community. As far as the fireworks go, there's some real problems there because you have to be a long way away from a home to do that. And I know that from the 25 years that we've done the fireworks out at the ODOT. I mean the dam. And so if you're going to think about doing that, you better get on it right away because it's a pain in the neck to get the fire marshal to do it. Of course, we don't have to work with the dam out there anymore, and so we don't have to do with that anymore. But yeah, you just got to make sure you get and our guy there's the association guy can help you getting to that because and there's a place in Canby that they buy them. He gives us a good deal. So,
And I know you would know Guy Smith that now is our
yeah,
HR
he would
director.
know. He'll know how to get through that too. Yes,
He is helping handle that, which
And
was
I'm just
captain on our fire
I'm
department
just
for a while. So.
I'm just glad that you're promoting Sweet Home because that's what it would be all for me. I mean, if it wasn't pushing for Sweet Home, then I would, and I know you are. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and I know the circumstances and all that stuff. So anyway, I'm for this.
If anybody's donating it, we're donating more time than I'd like to admit. So.
Anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
Christy, did you have something you wanted to say about this?
I just wanted to let the council know that the Admin and Finance and Property Committee met March 15th and was in support of the request. The committee recommended a dollar amount between $5,000 and $10,000 to be funded through the Economic Development Fund, and asking Radiator Supply and the Sweet Home Icebox Cook-Off to promote the city of Sweet Home and include their logo in their advertisements. There are three options in the staff report for your consideration. One, to make a motion to approve the initial request of $15,000. The second option is to make a motion to approve the request in a different amount as recommended by the Admin, Property and Finance Committee. And the third option is, of course, to do nothing. So we'll be looking for a motion this evening from you.
Right. So I need a motion.
Madam Mayor.
Mayor? Okay. I appreciate you coming down here and sharing how you feel and how much you're going to do to support the city and have a partnership with us. I'd like to make a motion for option number 1 for the full amount that they requested.
I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded that we give the full amount requested. I think was 15,000. Was that correct?
That's correct.
Roll call, please, Julie.
Counselor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards, President Pro Tem Gerson,
No.
Counselor Trask.
I think that's more than we need to spend, and I'm going to say no.
And that is the reason why I voted no also. So the vote is 3-2 to give the 15,000 out of the economic development grant. I also thank you very much for coming down and talking to us. I think the partnership is really important. We may need to talk about what that partnership looks like, but I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. We want Sweet Home to be a part of the team and this to be, again, for Sweet Home. We want to see all the businesses, local businesses do well off this. That's our intent. You know, we could do this private and have our own little party down there pretty easy, but there's more value for our community when we get everybody on the same team and build this together. And we will ask for your help as we build this for ideas. And I would love to hear anybody. My office is open and I can bring the team in to listen to any ideas to make this a great event.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Along these lines, it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to bring up the idea that perhaps we need to talk about this in terms of developing a process for this, and that we kind of put a hold on this economic development money until we go through the budget process. Like a little discussion on that, if we could have.
Madam Mayor, I think that's a great idea, and I would make a motion to do that. Just put a hold on all economic development funds until after our budget season is done.
I'll second that.
So there's a motion and a second to put a hold on the economic development funds after this.
You would like clarity on that, right?
Does it need to be clarified, Brandon?
Yes. Staff is concerned. Go ahead, Blair.
So we fund our SEEP grants out of that money. And so is that does that apply to all funds going out of that, all monies going out of that fund, or are you referring to
Or is
projects
it
such
just
as
new
this
requests? New requests?
that are new requests that are not
think so.
part
I
of the
think
SEEP
so.
program?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, does that
and
clarify?
fine.
that was the clarity you needed.
I just have pending applications and that would,
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I think the thing that we were going for was the fact that, in my opinion, and I'm thinking from way back now, I'm pretty sure that the money that's in that economic development money was not for this particular kind of things. And so, and we used to have a 30,000 or whatever the number was that we gave to different people and at certain times. But I'm a firm believer that this should not be taken out of the economic development for what we wanted it for the purpose of what we put that in to begin with, was to upgrade our downtown businesses and those kinds of things. And so that's my concern. And I'm only one vote here. So, and we need to do this. We need to get this set up so that we know exactly what it's going to be, how much it's going to be, how you can get it done, how many people can do it, and all those things. We talked for quite a while about this, and we'll try to get something going, and we ask staff to take care of that. Anyway, so I appreciate it, though.
Counselor Sanchez?
Yes, ma'am. I am not a fan of more red tape, and I know that we've had multiple discussions about we can't get that money spent, so we've bumped it up to be even a greater award to certain businesses, and we can't even get our downtown businesses to participate in that sort of program. So I'm not necessarily sure why we would want to tie up anybody that wants to come and receive funding for economic development, whatever sort of economic development it may be, whether it's for a storefront or to bring events to town to bring more economic development throughout the entire place. So I'm not a fan.
Madam Mayor, if I could explain more, I think it would be, the reason I made the motion is because we have some money in there and we have some big projects on the works that we would like to, that would impact economic development. And if we can get a process in place for other ideas, we could possibly use that seed money for a larger impact, but also just make sure that when people come before us, that they know what to expect. Because I think sometimes it's unnerving for the public to come to us and then they don't know what we need to see or what we need to understand in order to know that this is truly going to be economic development. I don't want it to be cumbersome. So that's one of the things, as being on the Admin and Finance Committee, I would hope that we would be able to streamline the process, but just so people don't come unaware of what we need to understand about the event before we can give them money. That's my clarity.
So, Madam Mayor, can I ask one? What is the money's purpose and whose money is it? Is it the communities or is it the city councils?
Blair?
so that fund originally came from a community development block grant that was essentially a housing rehab. They were housing rehab loans. And so this money came from the federal government. And as those housing rehab loans were paid back, it came back to the city as a fiduciary. And the federal government said, you get to keep that money and use it for economic development purposes. So that's the origin of that fund. Is that more or less correct? Your understanding, Brandon? So economic development is one of those, we've talked about this before, where it's not a well-defined term. Everybody's going to have a different answer of what economic development means. So there certainly is a wide latitude in that. I wouldn't say that we can't get it spent. We have plenty of projects to spend it on. The question is, what is a priority that you want it spent on? And staff remains ready to have that discussion and do what the will of the council is when it comes to the appropriate use of those funds. But it is a finite fund. It's limited, and there's not any revenue coming back in that fund. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Madam Mayor, it's obvious to all of us in this council that it's the city's, the taxpayers' money. But we have an obligation to spend that as best we can. And I believe that the whole thing for that was to do up downtown improvements on the buildings that we have. not to do these other things. And we have a plan right now that you can get a copy of if you'd like. We just want to make sure that we get that more easier to follow and easier to do. And there's things that I think that we need to take care of that we just want to take a look at it and see what you guys come up with. And I think it's important that we do use our money responsibly.
Is there any further discussion? There's a motion on the table. Julie?
Was there a second? I missed it.
Yes, I think Dave seconded it.
Yes, we would need a friendly amendment on the motion. If you are inclined to include the SEEP grants.
Oh, yes. I would like to
That
amend my
program will-
motion to include the SEEP grants so that
Allow
those
that program to continue.
yes, allow the program to continue, of course.
So Julie, do you have the
I do.
motion? Thank you.
Let's see here. Sorry. Counselor, President Pro Tem Gerson.
I'm sorry.
Roll call vote.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Are you voting in favor of the motion?
Oh, yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Your vote, President Pro Tem Gerson.
Yes, please.
you.
Yes.
Counselor Trask.
Yes.
Counselor Coleman.
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez.
No.
And Counselor Richards.
No.
Let the record show the vote was 3-2 in favor. Okay. New business. Presentation and request for council action, the Council of Governments Recruitment Services, IGA.
Yes, thank you. This evening, we have invited Ryan Schulze from Oregon Cascade West Council of Governments, and Ryan's going to be giving you a presentation about the process for the recruitment of your next city manager. In your packet tonight is an intergovernmental agreement that we'll be asking for your consent for. But first, we'll let Ryan go ahead with his presentation, and then we'll ask for your approval on the IGA following his presentation and responses from the council. So welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, council. So I'll go through this relatively brief presentation just to give you my thoughts on what the process would look like for the recruitment of your next city manager. So this next slide is kind of the big picture, just to give you an overview of the timeline that really starts tonight with your go ahead of the IGA. And then tomorrow, what I would want to do is send a survey to the council of the attributes that you would want to use as screening criteria for applicants to the position. And then based upon that, we can begin building the brochure for the position. From there, then we would go ahead and present that to you for approval immediately post the position on April 13th for a period of 1 month. At the end of 1 month, what I would encourage is to have it open until filled, but after 1 month, doing the first pool of applicants and reviewing and screening for candidates that would be invited to interview. The first interviews would be in May 26th. Second interviews would be in June. The week of the 8th through 10th is the window that we'd be looking at, with your decision shortly thereafter, an offer made and the position starting on August 1st. So it's a relatively tight timeline as recruitments go, but I think it's very doable. We want to move to the next slide. This slide just represents approximately what I think we could do this for. So I'm really not looking for the Council of Governments to make a lot of money doing this. We're here to provide services to the communities within the region. And so this really is essentially our costs in terms of time and materials that we would be passing on. The IGA that you're looking at is a little more precise, and in terms of what the hourly costs are for myself and my staff. And the IGA is written as a time and materials, essentially not to exceed an amount of 4,500. As recruitments go, it's relatively inexpensive. But again, it's for us, it's not about making money for the COG. It's, you know, it's as long as we're covering our costs and we're able to provide services that are beneficial to you. And the next slide, please. So a little more detail going into the survey that I would want to launch that tomorrow, and still working with Christy and her staff on some of the specifics for that. And I could actually pull up a sample of what that might look like. But in Microsoft 360, there's a tool called Forms where I can build a survey. So you're familiar with that. There's an element in there that you can sort of slide the different options higher or lower to determine what your favorites are. And then what I would recommend is 3 to no more than 5 be used. So the top out of everything that the council selects, the top 3 to 5 would be used as the screening criteria. And then now that's not to say that all the attributes that you'd be looking at are not important. But it's really, what do we want to get in front of us first in terms of who we want to interview, and then utilizing the other attributes as a basis for later interview questions. So that also will then help inform the brochure that we'll be drafting with Christy and getting before you. And if we want to go to the next slide. So when we're talking about the brochure, I don't think it's any mystery to you all that the brochure is pretty critical in terms of what it is you're selling to your candidates. And so within that, we want to make sure that we've identified what your minimum qualifications are in terms of how much experience and what type of experience you're looking for. And I'd actually like to open that up for some input right now from you all. Is there a minimum number of years experience that you're looking for in city manager or city manager like work? And are there some specific areas of that kind of work that, like the contracting, the economic development is probably something that is important to you, planning, those sorts of things. Are there some specifics that you would be looking for there?
Counselors?
My number one would be economic development and just growing Sweet Home, getting more businesses to come here. That's my top priority.
And sorry, to take that a step further, is there a threshold of number of years that you would be looking for someone?
No, let's say 7 to 10.
7 to 10 years.
Yeah, is that average? I mean, I really don't know. It's the first time I've had to hire a city manager.
No, it's not.
Oh, that's right.
Anyone else?
I'm not quite sure the pool of candidates' capabilities. It probably would be nice if somebody had some sort of an experience behind their resume. Maybe 5 years minimum. I don't know really what's the regular average.
Right, and maybe to help sort of hone that more is if somebody has 5 years of managerial experience, is that enough? If I was the owner operator of a company for 5 years, it's not necessarily city manager experience, but certainly there's some transferable skills, right? And so would that be something that would be a 5 years of managerial experience over a company, or
So just for me, I've ran my own company for 6 years, and the public versus the private is completely different. So I would prefer somebody who had city manager experience to know exactly what needs to happen versus just running your own private business.
I would prefer somebody has union negotiation experience. Yeah, and at least 5 years of, and contract negotiation, yes, 5 years of managerial experience in the city.
Madam Mayor, I don't know that I'd be for somebody that's running a business somewhere that would have the ability to fly in here and do all the stuff that they have to do that they're not used to. And that might take a quite a bit of time for them to get on board with that. I mean, I could be totally wrong here, but it seems like if you're working for whoever, a big company, and they want to come here, which they probably wouldn't because of, the finances, but it seems to me like that I would want somebody with at least a few years of city manager job. Because just flying in here, it may not work. It may not
Right.
work anyway, but you know what I mean? I
Absolutely.
would definitely prefer somebody that's had some city manager time.
Right. And I'm intentionally being a little bit vague with this to try to help facilitate. I don't want to make assumptions about what you want. And so I want to throw things out there a little bit more vague to help you sort of hone in for me on what it is you want. Another question to take that a step further would be, I'm hearing a lot of, I would want to see city manager experience. What about leading a city department?
Madam Mayor, if I could, that's why I said a management within the city, because I think city department would be sufficient for.
Okay.
Yes, I would agree with that also.
I agree with it too.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, anything else?
Well, I've got a couple of things I wanted. I think that there should be they should have to live in the town. They should definitely at least live close.
So, right,
so
a
that they
willingness
don't-
to
so they're not-
relocate.
So,
if
so they're not 50 miles away, obviously, which makes perfect sense.
Right.
And also, I would really like that the people that are applying for the job needs to come here and talk to us face to face. I think this Skype thing we did the last time, as you probably were involved with it, it was
I was
horrible, absolutely horrible the way that worked. So if they can get here, for me, that's a plus for me, and I think it would be for the whole council. So it may not be possible with everyone.
And I would like to get to that. I actually have a slide later on to
Okay.
talk about some
Okay.
of that. But yes, certainly the relocation seems like that would be something that would be, particularly if you end up looking at somebody who is out of state or, lives in Eastern Oregon, or is there a number of miles that seems reasonable to the council that you would want somebody to live within? I mean, would the council be okay if they lived in Lebanon, or if they?
12 to 15 for me personally would be fine, but I don't know what they want.
I don't want anybody living in Lebanon.
I expected that response.
I think it's reasonable to be in this 15 to
Yeah,
whatever.
15-mile radius. Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
Councilor Dillon said. So as long as it's not a long way away,
Right.
that would be my concern.
Excellent. Okay. I think another thing I would like to bring up, when you talked about the possibility of relocation, would the council be supportive of? Because this wouldn't be financing that would be included in the slide that I presented. Things like a relocation cost reimbursement or stipend or something like that would go into the brochure. And maybe that's just food for thought for another time, but
So I'm not really into restricting somebody to live inside of city limits in order to serve our community. I just really want somebody who wants to make Sweet Home all that it could be visionary style. So I think that offering some sort of benefits package to relocate, if that would entice them to live inside of the town, that would be something that I'd be willing to offer. But housing market is limited, rentals are through the roof, and so we have to kind of take that into consideration too, so we don't just limit our opportunities, my opinion.
Madam Mayor, I'm not saying that I would like to have them live in the school district area, which is pretty wide. But I just think living outside of our town, for me, is just not Lebanon wouldn't be a bad problem. I'm just, but because housing is a tough deal. It really is. But it's not going to be any easier in Lebanon than it is here. So,
Right.
and I agree with the Councilor Sanchez that it's, yeah. So,
Right. Yeah, I live in Albany, and the housing market there it's really tight. It's amazing. Oh.
Yep.
Oh. Okay. So so I think I'm hearing that there might be some allowance for a stipend to move. And I don't know that a number needs to be set right here and right now. But these are considerations that I think will need to be addressed before a brochure can be finalized at the meeting. I think we looked at the 12th to finalize the brochure.
Madam, I would, if we do that, and I'm not sure, you mean for them to move from wherever to John Day or somewhere?
Right.
I'm not opposed to that to a certain degree, but there needs to be a limit. If it's going to cost
Absolutely.
$25,000, that's not something we could do. But I don't know that I would be opposed to that pending.
And if I could make a recommendation, I think it's not uncommon for a $10,000 moving allowance. That would generally be more than enough for most people to be able to do it. Although I haven't moved in our recent economy. So maybe I don't want to, take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. But I mean, even 5,000 could be enticing to somebody that is really a top candidate to want to come this way. So I would say that's something to consider. The other thing that I would like to have the council discuss is what the salary range is. I don't know if you have set a salary range necessarily. I've done some looking around at what recent other cities of sort of comparable population have done for salary. And if I could offer a range that seems not leading and not lagging, sort of in that Goldilocks zone, would be about 127 to 155 per year.
Christy, did you have something you wanted to add to this?
I just wanted to note that generally relocation expenses are part of the contract negotiation. So you extend an offer and, depending on each particular candidate, that may be part of the package that you would offer. We could certainly put it in the brochure that, relocation expenses could be considered.
Negotiable.
Right. And then as far as the residency, you can't really require somebody to reside in your community without that charter, and even that without that charter requirement. And even that is, up for debate depending on, how it's interpreted. What I might recommend that if it is the desire of the council to have a residency, we would just say residency within the school district is required, or residency within a specific area is recommended or desired by the council. That way they know what you would like to see happen, and it may be a part of, how you determine who your final candidates are going to be, if they're able to do that or wanting to do that.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I would think that somebody was going to move to be our manager, that they would want to be in our community. And I agree that, we can't force them to, but you want to live in Portland and have them come down here, that's ridiculous, of course. But I think that you would want to be as close as you can, so you don't have to travel, for one thing, for the cost of that. I would prefer that they live in the school boundary. I think that's reasonable. I do.
So, Madam Mayor, if I may, I just feel like because where are they going to find a place to live? We're requesting them to buy a house or to find a rental. I think that we are going to limit our options by having that sort of request because we are lacking available housing. And to buy a house right now, the house prices are astronomical, and a $5,000 moving budget is not going to go very far. So I just know that my sister looked for a place and she can't find anything for less than $1,500. And I mean, she's on a limited income. The salary would probably be able to better offer more housing, but I just don't want to hinge this all on residency.
So I think, Chrissy, that could be negotiable also, right? I mean, I think that would be part of a contract.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a good point to be made there. And I think why Christy maybe brought that up is if you've got somebody who is moving from Crabtree, the amount that you might want to offer for a moving stipend would certainly be less than somebody who is moving from John Day or,
Right.
or out of state. If it's even requested or needed or desired to provide, and that could be a part of the negotiation. I want to bring it up to make sure that there's forethought about those kinds of things, as well as what the salary range might be.
Okay.
And then of course the other things we want to include the brochure, like what are the skills that we're looking for, what's the experience, and really what is it about Sweet Home that makes this such a unique and special place that somebody wants to come here. And I think that you all know how to come up with what that would look like and can give that input. We want to go ahead and go to the next slide. Or does there need to be any more discussion on salary range, or are there questions about, did I just pull that number out of thin air, or?
Okay.
I might add to that conversation, when we prepare the brochure, we'll bring that to you for final review and approval. And we'll have some research on other recruitments that have been conducted so that you can see the ranges that were offered there, and then can make that part of your final approval of the brochure before it goes out.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we know how much the previous one was getting paid, so I don't remember what step he was. But I think we could take that into consideration about what that was and what it will be in the, I don't know exactly what he was getting paid right now, but I would be looking at some of that too, so.
Excellent. So once we do finalize and approve that brochure, then at the COG, we'll go ahead and take that and we will post it using our internal system that we use. SUDI HR is our HRIS that we can generate recruitments through. So it just creates a link that then we can post with all the various associations, League of Oregon Cities and AOC and some of the others, as well as utilizing LinkedIn and in any place that you want to post that, we'll post it. And then all the applications will come in directly through that link to us. This screening criteria that we'll develop will really help us to identify who are the candidates that really should be interviewed. So we'll post, again, we'll post it as open until filled, with the intention of leaving it open for 1 full month before doing that initial screening of candidates, so we can bring you a list of qualified candidates to invite to interview. So the list of qualified candidates will be provided at the May 24th meeting, at which time you can say yay, nay, go back to the drawing board. The hope, of course, would be that there's at least, so ideally, what I would like to present to you at that time is 5 to 6 top candidates that you can say, yes, these are really solid candidates and we'd like to interview these 5 or 6 people. I don't like to do a list much larger than that, because unless it's really that many really qualified people. But most of the time, if you get 5 or 6 really solid quality candidates, then the person you want is in there. Bringing more just for the sake of bringing more sometimes feels good, but ultimately is a waste of your time. And so part of what I see my job being is giving you really those top candidates that you can spend more focused time on and really identifying who the best fit is. And so that's what I hope to bring to you on the 24th with the initial interview scheduled for the 26th. So again, that really tight window. And this is where I know you said you don't like the Zoom interviews because of what has happened in the past. I will say we've learned a lot in the last 2 years about how to do these sorts of things. And given that we may have people traveling great distances, it probably for a first round interview would be best to do. And we now use Teams. It sounds like you're familiar with Teams. We could facilitate those initial interviews via Teams with the intent of doing the second round interviews in person with 2 to 3 top candidates. And then you're limiting, again, if we wanted to talk about potential expense, is the council willing to, if somebody lives in Texas and wants to come live in Sweet Home and has, 30 years of city manager experience and just wants to come here and live by the lake and be your city manager, is there a willingness to pay for travel for them to come here for that second round interview? That's another thing that needs to be thought about. But again, doing the initial screening interview with the larger pool with the intent of getting down to 2 or 3 for that second round interview. And the reason we want to have these dates preset and in the brochure is so that that person in Texas or Minnesota or Southern Oregon already has it marked on their calendar that I may need to be traveling at this time. So it's not as difficult to do the quick turnaround and get them here.
Madam Mayor, I agree with you. I know that the IDs, it's gotten way better than it used to be. It was really bad. I'm not saying I'm opposed to that. I would just prefer that if they could come, that would be the best way for me to see their face and be able to, anyway. And they probably want to also, but if they're in Chicago, that might not be an easy thing to do. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I just that it would be my preference the other way around.
And certainly there could be for that first round a hybrid approach where some could be interviewed if you have local candidates that make that initial screening and are in the first round interviews. Certainly in-person interviews could be conducted for those with the availability of doing remote interviews for Chicago or wherever it might be. The other thing that I didn't go into, and it's really hard to see the bullets in here right now. I wasn't sure how big the screens would be. On the 24th, I would like to do a panel, an interview panel sort of training to walk through the scoring mechanism. The scoring mechanism that I've developed for the Council of Governments is one that is I will say very legally defensible and keeps you out of hot water. And also we can talk through some of the other things besides even how you score, but what questions are okay and not okay. And I think generally most people know, but it's still good to go through those and get the reminders that, oh yeah, I better not ask about that. Or what do I do when somebody says, oh, by the way, I have this family thing or my religion, how to respond to those things. And so that would be something that I would want to go over on the 24th when we present.
So
Yes.
would we have a work session prior to the council meeting for that?
We may do that, or we may also hold an executive session if he's presenting the candidates that evening. So we might hold an executive session where he would be talking about each of the candidates and
Okay.
making the recommendations, and that would be part of it.
Okay.
Has anything I've said so far caused pause, questions?
Madam Mayor. So I actually agree with Councillor Trask. I am I appreciate Zoom when we have council meetings and such when we're out of town or sick, but if we're giving somebody such a high paid position, I would prefer to have, if possible, an in-person interview, even for the first round. And if they aren't available to come to an in-person interview, then I think that could potentially disqualify them. I would love to have face-to-face when we're trying to interview somebody with that type of position for our town.
Okay.
For me, one of the important things on that June 8th is the presentation to the community. I think that needs to be an opportunity for the community to interview the candidate, not just us interview the candidate.
Right.
I think a town hall kind of situation. Yeah, it's kind of scary and it's kind of, puts them on the spot, but I think that it would tell us a lot.
Absolutely. And so what I would envision, and of course this is my own vision, is requesting the candidates who are invited to do a presentation. That could be, what is your vision for the city of Sweet Home? That then the community gets to hear what that vision looks like. I would maybe recommend having some guided criteria that the community can give feedback on, so that it's a little easier to evaluate the outcome of that, rather than everybody just having an open, just whatever I think about that becomes a little more challenging to sort of evaluate. But again, those are my thoughts, and I'd be open to hearing any alternative views of how that might work. But
Okay.
Madam Mayor, last time we did have an open house kind of a thing,
Mhm.
and people were be able to ask, but we didn't get involved in that too much.
Mhm.
And they asked them all the questions, and they answered all the ones that they could answer. And I think it's really important, really, for me to, if they don't make it the first time around, and we get a final thing or something, then I think it would be good for them to come and have a open house thing like we did down at the senior center. And it was quite a few people showed up, and they asked good questions that maybe we didn't even think about, that they were worried about or whatever. I think that's a really good idea. Really good idea.
Okay. Yeah, and certainly the ideas I presented it is that the first round would be remote. Of course, that's subject to what you want. The second round being they must be in attendance, with a tour of the region of the city by staff, followed by that community presentation and opportunity for the community to engage with the candidates and provide feedback, and then ultimately the final interview with the council here. That'll be a long day, but it certainly should give you a lot of insight into those top few candidates, and I would really hope that it would be no more than 3, and maybe, well, obviously no fewer than 2, but
Yeah. Okay.
okay. Next slide. And then from there, that would be where we would start reference checks following that, based upon the council's decision. And at the same time, then the council would begin negotiations around what the contract would look like, and finalizing the contract June 28th, which then should give ample time for the candidate to exit whatever it is they're currently doing and transition by August 1st. And that would allow, I think, about 1 week of overlap with Christie's contract.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Christy, any other questions?
No, I don't. I don't have any questions.
Okay.
We will be presenting more options to you as we move throughout the process and have you make those decisions at the point where we need to know.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I
Yes.
just, so if we aren't able to find a qualified candidate and it comes time to Christy, your contract being over, would we start the process over, or would we just select somebody and hope it sticks, or?
So that's really why I say I would recommend leaving it open until filled, so that you're not having to start the process over. If at the end of the first round interviews, it's like there's really nobody that we feel like we're comfortable with, we would be continuing to get applications that could be evaluated throughout the process. Now, that does then impact the full timeline going out beyond that, of course. So this timeline really is based on ideal circumstances. I think we all know currently hiring there's always risk in hiring and recruiting. There's always risk that you're not going to get a good applicant pool. There's always a number of risks. And right now is a particularly strange time when there are so many job openings and so few people applying for them. I can't make any promises about what we'll get for an applicant pool. But I can promise that we will put it out there in every place that we can to try to get the most ideal candidate that we can. And if the council has specific individuals in mind that obviously not to offer a position to, but to say, we'd like to talk to this person, or at least make them aware that that this position is open, then we can do more targeted recruitment in that way as well.
Madam Mayor, the last time, which I hope this is the last time but I was surprised actually how long it took. It takes a long time, and there's just the process takes more time than I thought there would be. And I'm thinking around 6 months, and it was a long try. So
it certainly can be, which is why this is an aggressive timeline that we put together. It's also a very achievable timeline if the right candidates apply. And that is always the risk. Now, even this timeline could be accelerated further if the council said, you know what, for a period of time, we're going to meet once a week to go over different things and have some special sessions to do that. I'm not advocating for that necessarily, but what I will say is that I will be flexible to the needs of the council. Now, obviously, I will do everything I can to stay within the not to exceed amount of the IGA. Were the recruitment needing to be extended beyond what we've outlined here, there is potential that would have to be brought back to relook at. Certainly not my hope. I would really like to get the city of Sweet Home a city manager and have you all celebrating all the great work that we've done together. I don't think it benefits me to draw things out.
Okay. Any other questions? So I need a motion on the IGA, please.
So moved as recommended.
I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded that we accept the IGA from the Council of Governments. Roll call, please, Julie.
Counselor Trask,
yes.
Counselor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yep.
President Pro Tem Gerson.
Yes, so let the record show vote of all in 5 votes yes and 2 absent. Thank you. Appreciate
very
your
much.
presentation. Okay, request for council action, Music and Brews Public Address System application. Ron, did you want to speak to this?
I'm more here. I'm to answer questions and concerns. There's a lot of things going on with the Music and Brews. This is a new event that we're putting on. We had some success last year with our Tune-Up Tuesdays. They were a small concert that was located in the same area as where this is planned to be. We have relocated the stage area to be less intrusive as far as noise to the Rio Theater, because that would be the only thing that would be open kind of that night, showing movies and whatnot. So the stage is designed to be on the west side of the parking lot against the old church building. For lack of better, that's where it's at. That's where the stage will be. That area, all the way to where the Rio Theater parking is behind the Rio, will be tinted. And so that tent and the people in the tent will help keep the noise down. I'm not a sound guy, but Robert's told me sound travels, your highs and your mids get dispersed real quickly, especially if there's a tent blocking and people blocking. Okay. The bass is what you would, that kind of goes everywhere. And so the farther it is away from the Rio, the better it will be, not affecting patrons at the Rio at that time of night. I know that the request is for the public address system, and I believe it was from noon to 10:30. I know that this is not going to be jamboree loud, and it is going to be somewhat loud, but again, the tent and the people in there will contain a lot of that volume. I don't think, based on what Robert has discussed with Thomas Bayham, that that's going to be an issue as far as too much noise. It's a concert. So I'm not sure what questions you have, what we're trying to accomplish. Obviously, the role of Shedig is to bring in economic development. Robert and his team have done a great job post-COVID to try to ramp back up the Jamboree. Our Tune-Up Tuesdays are going to be moved to June this year instead of September. Because what we have done in the past is we've had concerts outside of town to kind of promote the Jamboree and to get more interest for people to come in end of July, 1st of August. We had the event at the OSU Center, can't think of the name of it right now. That was our mystery concert series. We had that was kind of our promotion. It was usually in April, but we were putting it on in Corvallis. It was a partnership with St. Jude's, so it was nice for us to do that. But obviously, the whole idea behind the Jamboree and Shedig is to bring that economic development to Sweet Home. So this is this is new. Obviously, we're probably going to have some mistakes, but I think Robert and his team have really dug in and developed a great strategy to have the least amount of impact on the local area. And I know that Robert and Thomas Bayham have been talking and they've got some things figured out. Robert has gotten permission from the Larsons to use their parking lot for the Rio when we're there Friday and Saturday night. We're working on with Thomas what he wants to do, but we're working on during the day from 12 to I think 5:30 is kind of free to the public, no charge, and then at 5:30 you have to have a ticket to come in. But they're going to have lots of face painting, Easter type theme activities for kids. And the plan is Thomas is going to show, I think it's Sonic 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And we're going to be offering those kids that are coming to the concert some sort of a free popcorn or discount or something to encourage them to go when they have to leave at 5:30, go watch the movie. There was a little bit of miscommunication to begin with, and that's unfortunate, but I think cooler heads prevailed, and we've got a working situation that Mr. Bayham's happy with, and we can help promote his business while he helps us promote our event.
Okay,
Madam Mayor,
Counselor.
Thomas, is that all true? Okay. You didn't see him come in, so.
I was like, I was thinking I was getting lucky. He didn't show up.
Counselor Coleman.
Yeah, I had a couple of concerns just in communicating with other neighbors. So I called some neighbors that might be impacted by the event. I'm all for the Jamboree, as hopefully you all know. I called the funeral home because I know that they might be impacted by the noise if they happen to have a service there that night. But also it's Good Friday, so I know that Event Church would typically have a Good Friday service, but I heard that the pastor there has chosen to do a service on Thursday to accommodate that. So I'm glad that he was aware of that. But maybe next time, just make sure that those businesses are also considered as well. So.
Well, I was pretty sure that Robert had talked to the evangelical because we talked about parking. And again, I'm kind of relaying this, and he's going to owe me a lot when he gets back.
Yeah, I spoke with the pastor today. He said he saw it posted on Facebook, and he went over and talked to Robert right away to make sure they could get things worked out. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, we all know Robert, and he's got a great mind. He's very creative, and sometimes things slip through the cracks. And he missed not communicating enough with Thomas, and apparently not with the church either, like I thought he did. But I knew that was a concern. And the Sunday concern, because it is Easter Sunday as well. Robert said, I talked to him this morning briefly, most of our stuff will be done and gone Saturday night. There might be a few vehicles left around on Sunday, but it should not impact parking or anything for the Sunday services, because we've got permission from the school, because I think they're out of, the reason why we're having it that time is because the school's out for 2 days, so we're using the parking lot. So that's kind of how it fell into that weekend. So as far as the churches and stuff goes, we should be pretty much invisible by the time Sunday service kicks in for those. He also reached out to anybody who's doing Easter egg hunt to promote those kids to come over and join the festive. But there's gonna be line dancing and face painting and Easter egg hunt or whatever. They've got the Boys and Girls Clubs coming over to do some different things with the kids as well. So we've got it kind of set up that way.
So
All I've got to say is I'm all for it. So you got my vote.
I know why too.
So I have a question, because the application is for the amplifier system, right? Which says that it will travel beyond the 1,000 feet. So Jason, do you need to respond to that at all?
Not really.
Not
I mean,
really.
other than, it has to be shut off at the specified time.
At the time, right. So if it's tented, is it really necessary to amplify it beyond 1,000 feet?
Well, I mean, I think that's precautionary in my opinion, but if you think about being in a tent and people having a few beers or whatever and talking, you're going to have that music level up enough for it to kind of blow over. So I don't, again, when you have sound travel, and I actually did look it up because I didn't believe Robert, but he said he asked Tom, and Tom knows more about sound than I know. But the highs and mids are going to kind of hit what's in there and stop. The biggest part of it's going to be the bass, and with it being backed up against the building, it should throw that bass out a little bit, but by the time it gets to the end of the tent, I think it will be dissipated. Do I know that for a fact? No, I can't promise that. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's the theory that Robert and Thomas have been talking about, so I think we'll be all right.
Okay, and I have one more concern.
Okay.
Is that on the map, it shows with the tented area, and then it shows that there's on the east side of the tent is where, on Long Street is where the entrance is. On the west side of the tent is a place called the Green Room. Don't know what the Green Room is, but both of those facilities are on the sidewalk.
The tent is over the sidewalk, but not blocking the sidewalk.
Okay. But on the map, it shows those two, at least the Green Room blocking the sidewalk.
Yeah, I asked Robert about that. And he said that no sidewalks would be blocked with what's being created.
Okay, so
I think the outline of what you're seeing is the outline of the tent, not necessarily any blockage of the sidewalk.
okay, so the sidewalk will not be blocked. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. So I need a motion on the request for council action for the Music and Brews public address system application.
Go.
Make a motion to approve the PA system application for Music and Brews.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we accept the application. Julie, roll call, please.
Counselor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Gerson,
Yes.
Counselor Trask.
Yes.
So we have 5 ayes and no nays, 2 absent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Yep.
Okay, proclamation. It is this Child Abuse Prevention Month. Jason, were you going to speak to that?
Yes, on, let me get my stuff here. I have some flyers that I can hand out. So on April the 2nd at 10 a.m. at the Sweet Home Police Department, we've done this every year. There's going to be some pinwheel planting, and we're going to have somebody there speaking on child abuse prevention and just basically making everyone aware of the importance of child abuse awareness, and encouraging people that if they see anything that is suspicious or any kind of concern, to give the police department a call, and we're going to look into that. So yeah, if you can make it on the 2nd, we would love to have you there. So.
Any questions, Council? Christy, did you have anything? So I will read the proclamation, Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. Whereas children are vital to our Oregon's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, as well as being our most vulnerable assets. Whereas all children deserve to have the safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities they need to foster their healthy growth and development. Whereas child abuse and neglect is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future quality of life of a community. Whereas communities that provide parents with the social support, knowledge of parenting and child development, and concrete resources they need to cope with stress and nurture their children, ensure all children grow to their full potential. Whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created among citizens, human service agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Therefore, I, Diane Gerson, President Pro Tem, do hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live. Proclaimed this 22nd day of March, 2022. Okay. Request for council action, resolution number 2 for 2022. The intent to appoint a city manager. Christy?
Yes, one of the provisions in your city charter requires that we announce that there is a position opening for the city manager. There's a 30-day notice provision in that. And this resolution would satisfy the requirement of the charter that you would be moving forward with the hiring of a city manager at some point in the future. This starts that 30-day clock. We don't think you'll be appointing one that soon, but this is just one of the steps that you need to complete as part of your hiring process. And we're recommending the approval of that resolution, which is on page 12 of your packet.
So I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 8 for 2022.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please, Julie.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Gerson,
Yes,
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Coleman.
Yes.
we have 5 ayes and 2 absent to accept the resolution. Request for council action, ODOT ADA ramp easement offer packet.
Yes, again, I'd like to invite Trish Rice to present the staff report this evening.
Good evening again. So ODOT is working throughout the city to replace their ADA ramps, and they have now started their project. Part of the project is acquiring right-of-way where they need more space for a ramp. We happen to be an adjacent landowner at one of those locations at Clover Park. ODOT has given us an offer packet for your consideration. They are seeking a permanent acquisition of 133 square feet of area that's currently landscaped and a temporary construction easement of 347 square feet. And in exchange, they are offering $2,100. We would like council direction on whether to accept the offer and sign the paperwork with ODOT.
So I need a motion and then we will have discussion.
So moved as recommended.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second discussion.
Madam Mayor, if I
Yes.
may, is that a fair number for the amount of square feet that they're requesting?
I'm not in the real estate business, so I can't comment on that, but they have had a third-party assessment do a valuation of the land, and that was the recommended value.
So my question is, the sprinklers need to be moved. Is that going to be a complicated process?
No.
No, okay. Any further questions? Roll call, please, Julie.
Counselor Richards, President Pro Tem Gerson,
Yes,
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
let the record show we have 5 ayes and 2 absent. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
Request for council action, Community Services Consortium Water Assistance Contract, page 262. Brandon, is it you?
This is me.
Okay.
So before you is a contract with Community Services Consortium. They're a designated state, or state designated community action agency. They've entered into agreement with a state organization, the Oregon Housing and Community Services Agency, to distribute up to 13.8 million. That's across the state, so not just for CSC, but 13.8 million for a new federal program, the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. The city was alerted to this program when a member of the CSC staff contacted us, asking, one, if this was something we were interested in, two, letting us know that they had been contacted asking why Sweet Home wasn't an eligible the Sweet Home community was not eligible recipients of this funding, only to find out that unfortunately when the contract was mailed, it went to Lebanon for whatever reason, not the city, but the state had some kind of City of Sweet Home address in Lebanon. So we're trying to rectify that and get this on the books. There certainly is some value to this program, and I think it's certainly something that would be beneficial for Sweet Home residents. The contract allows for the city to share specific information related to utility accounts with the Community Services Consortium after the CSC has received authorization and signed consent from the utility customer for us to give that information to them. What we would do is give them back history on the utility account. CSC would determine whether a utility customer is eligible based on the provisions of the federal program. Really, the city of Sweet Home, all our responsibility would be is sharing information so that appropriate payments, if allowable, could be made. So that's what's in the contract before you. Certainly happy to answer any questions you might have.
I do have a comment. I just wanted to thank Councilor Sanchez for your efforts in following through on this program. That will definitely be of benefit to the residents of Sweet Home.
Thank you. So I need a directive, please.
So I make a motion to accept and move forward with the contract for Community Service Consortium Water Assistance.
I second that.
So it's been moved and seconded that we do the Community Services Consortium Water Assistance contract. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I was pretty confused why Sweet Home residents weren't eligible for water assistance. And I know that we have residents that struggle to pay their water bill. And I myself have used these services a long time ago when I was a young mom. And I just think that the people in our community that need help can finally get some help to pay their water bill. And it also benefits the city to have the water paid as well. So thank you for helping move this forward.
Thank you. Roll call, Julie, please.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Gerson.
Yes. So we have 5 ayes and no nays and 2 absent. To accept that assistance contract. Request for council action resolution number 9 for 2022 surplus equipment in police and public works.
Me again.
You again.
It apparently is spring, and with spring comes spring cleaning. And so multiple departments across the city appear to be working on kind of clearing out their storerooms and trying to remove old, unused, or damaged equipment that is no longer usable for the city of Sweet Home. So before you is a resolution with a list of surplus items. Surplus items are items that are on our books as a capital asset. The council must take action on those before any disposal or auction can be had with those items, because we need to remove them from our books first. There are a few vehicles on here. They are all old vehicles with high mileage. For example, a 2008 Mercury Mariner. That vehicle has been well used across the city, has over 150,000 miles on it, has served its purpose. Maintenance costs are starting to stack up. We do have some issues with the fuel line on that, which has not been repaired at this point. So these other vehicles are in similar status. They've served their useful purpose, and it's time to move on with them. Other items on here are just supply items that made it into our books a long time ago. Specifically some in Public Works, and the police department is also removing some items toward the bottom of that list. I can answer questions on specific items. I may have to punt some of the questions over to Captain Ogden related to the police department items, as he is probably better familiar with those, but I can do what I can.
Questions, Counselor?
Madam Mayor, I just have a funny, have you tried to find parts to repair those things anytime soon?
No.
I can only imagine the cost in this environment for replacing parts on a 1992 Ford LNT 9000. But I think it'll make a great home. Somebody will give it a great home outside of us.
That's all right. So, I need action from council, please.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 9 for 2022.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we accept resolution number 9 for 2022. Roll call, please, Julie.
Counselor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Gerson,
Yes.
Counselor Trask.
Yes.
Let the record show we have 5 ayes and 2 absent. to approve the resolution. Request for council action, resolution number 10 for 2022 supplemental budget for police department. Do you get this too?
We really should hit the shuffle button on these so you don't have to hear from me all at once. Before you is a supplemental budget resolution. What we are looking to do is take available excess dollars received in property tax revenue, budget that revenue, and then budget a related expense line to replace the access control system at the police department. I want to start with the police department is still a secure facility. Nobody's getting in there right now. But that system is 22 years old, is running on a Windows 7 based PC, no longer attached to the internet, for the record. But it's on its last legs. If that system goes down, we cannot repair it. We can't repair it. There's no maintenance agreement. The contractors that put that in a long time ago can't even support that system any longer, and Windows 7 is not an supported operating system from Microsoft. So there are significant security holes in that. We would like the authorization to spend some money to replace it. What we are looking to replace it with is a sister system similar to what we have here in City Hall. That would allow for the same access cards to be used across the two systems for those that have access to both buildings. And it is a web-based system, so it would no longer necessarily tie us down to old archaic equipment. We expect another solid 20 plus years of life out of that system once it's installed. So that's kind of the premise of this. The police department has used their current access control significantly well and has babied it along for a long time, but the time has come to consider its replacement.
Are there questions? Council directive, please.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 10 for 2022. I hope the police department will be secure.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we accept resolution number 10 for 2022, the supplemental budget for the police department. Is there further discussion? Roll call, Julie, please.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Gerson.
Yes.
Counselor Trask.
Yes.
Counselor Coleman.
Yes.
Let the record show we have 5 ayes and 2 absent to support the resolution. No ordinance bills. Reports of committees. I have a couple of reports. The Youth Advisory Council is having lunch with the senior citizens tomorrow. Since they're not in school, they've decided they'll go to lunch with the seniors. And they're also making sucker Tootsie Pop bouquets for the new leadership class. So that's one of the things they're working on. And also I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting where there was some discussion on their banquets and their other activities that are coming up. So the banquet is coming up very quickly. Any other committee reports? I don't have a mayor's report, but we have a city manager's report.
Do you have something, Councilor Trask?
Maybe. Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
I just want to give you guys an upgrade type thing for the mayor. His dad has been up and down for a couple weeks now, and it's really been hard on him. And it's he's up there every day. He gets to come. Well, he comes home in the evening. But I really appreciate you putting a card out for us, Councilor.
I didn't do that. I don't know who did.
No, I'm talking.
Councilor Richards.
Councilor Richards. Yeah, he's the one that did it. You told me that. I just can't remember anyway. But I appreciate that, and it's well meant. So anyway, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a long list for you tonight.
Okay.
Let's see.
I make motion to adjourn.
How long can I stretch this out?
Do I get to say you're out of order, Councilor Trask?
One of the things I just wanted to let you know for the record and for anyone listening tonight that may not have heard, we're doing some construction activity between 52nd and 57th Place on Highway 20 that's associated with the ODOT Path project. As part of that construction, you're going to see a dip in the water main, the pressure going through that. And so we've issued a drinking water advisory to the residents in that area. Effective March 24th. So if you hear anything, we have given notice to the property owners that may be impacted by this. But if there's something going around on social media and you hear about it, just wanted to make sure that the council and the public is also aware. Coming up on Saturday, April 23rd, we'll be celebrating Arbor Day. And this will be a community event, and we'll be planting some new trees at the Evergreen Park, which is located at 1400 Evergreen Lane at 1 p.m. We hope you can join us for that event as well. The chamber banquet, we've heard from 4 counselors. If there's any additional interest in attending the chamber banquet on Saturday, April 2nd, please let Julie know tonight.
Julie, I'm going.
All right, and then our budgets are planned to be distributed to the Budget Committee and Council on April 4th. Our initial Budget Committee meeting was scheduled for April 7th at 6 p.m. and I just learned this evening that there's a conflict with the Planning Commission meeting. So we want to try to go to Wednesday, April 6th. Does that seem to work for the majority of you? If we have our initial Budget Committee meeting that night, we'll reach out to Budget Committee members and get that rescheduled. And that concludes my report for this evening.
That wasn't too much. Okay, directors reports, department directors reports. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. For West Yost task order, is the task really set for 2,922? It's marked as a year of 2922. I was a little concerned because I'm hoping we can get that wastewater facility worked on before then. Is there any way that can be corrected on the bottom of that report? Maybe you can ask them to do that.
Any council business for the good of the order? Meeting's adjourned. We made it. Drive safely. Have a good trip.